Good morning, everybody. Hey, normally we don't do a Tim and M on Friday, and this really isn't that. There's something, or Saturday, excuse me. We don't normally do it on Saturday. See, that's why I need her. But Elizabeth is with me today, and we're going to talk about something that's really important. But, you know, we all have memories of our grandparents and how significant they were to us. I was especially blessed by my grandpa Bill. And when I'd go there for the summer times, he'd occasionally take me out fishing at barely at sunrise, and but we'd also go hunting, and sometimes that was along the Yakima River or the Menashtash Ridge or Blewett Pass in Washington, and those were always fantastic moments for me. And we would bag a deer. He'd take his rifle and go bang, and we'd have a deer to bring home. But he never did it with an AK-47. He wasn't trying to get the whole herd. He wasn't trying to wipe anything out, okay? And if you need a weapon that does more than that, then perhaps you need to spend some time at the gun range. Look, I grew up as a hunter. I don't have a problem with people having guns. But not too long ago, I mean as in not more than a month ago, this ad came out. And what's on here, even though it looks reversed to you, what's on here is a list of how many places have had mass shootings. Guess what? This list is inefficient. I believe they've had more.
So, over the 4th of July weekend holiday, from Friday through Wednesday, there were at least 22 mass shootings in 17 states, leaving 20 dead and 126 injured. And those aren't exact figures because it keeps changing. Baltimore, there was a neighborhood block party. 2 dead, 28 injured. 15 were minors. Fort Worth, Texas, 3 people dead, 8 wounded at a 4th of July festival. Philadelphia, 5 people killed, 2 wounded with an AR-15, and the guy wore full body armor and a ski mask. He was ready for war. Washington, D.C., 9 injured. Louisiana, 5 dead. Boston, 1 killed, 7 injured. A mass shooting is designated in the U.S. when at least 4 people are shot or injured, not counting the shooting.
Too bad if you're just one.
So far in 2023, listen to this. This is absolutely unbelievable. Since January of 2023, there have been over 360 mass shootings in the U.S.
So, folks, we're going by what's fed us, okay? We're going by what we can pick up from the internet. We don't have a journalistic staff that goes out and verifies all of this and fact check. And so if you want to get angry at us, fine. But what if it was just one? Okay, can we all agree that there's been a hell of a lot more than one? Okay, your right to life and pursuit of happiness is guaranteed in the Constitution. But, you know, they keep bringing up the Bill of Rights where it says the right to bear arms. Okay. In ancient U.S. history, let's say 1890, it would cost you the equivalent of $300 to get a brand new rifle made for you. That's the average cost. But for that same $300, you could put a down payment on one hell of a farm outside of New York City or in California. You could have enough money to buy food for your family for an entire year. That's the equivalent. So if guns started costing about $1 million, maybe they should, okay? Then maybe people would quit using them to abuse other people. The majority of the citizens in the United States want sensible gun control. I was an NRA member. Back when Brady was shot, I believe it was when he was working with Reagan, they started doing background checks. And the NRA sent out a survey. And they said, which of these things are you most concerned with? Gun education or, a waiting period? Well, everybody checked both boxes. to which the NRA ignored. So I quit supporting them. Now they're proven to be a PR firm and not a fraternal organization like they started out to be. Why isn't Congress enacting this legislation? PACs that donate to members of Congress is the reason why. We need to enact, I don't want to get into all of that, but we need to make some changes in Congress, okay? So this is actually the fault of the president. Well, I'll let Elizabeth talk for a bit.
Well, I want to talk about sensible gun legislation. So there are a lot of ways that we can enact sensible gun control. My question is, do we need to, everybody keeps talking about the right to bear arms. In 1791, they had no idea about how fast guns could be manufactured and how easily obtained. Tell them how long it took to get a gun and what involved.
Well, in order to get the base metal, if you were a gunsmith, in order to get the base metal, I mean, my little brother is a metalsmith. In order to get gun metal takes a lot longer than it did now. It took at least 6 months just to get the metal so you could either make a revolver or make a rifle. And it would be the gunsmith's job for 6 or 8 months to make it. So you might not even see that rifle for a year, but you had to pay for it up front. So the idea that we would need a waiting period or a cool-off period never even occurred to people who were the writers of the Bill of Rights.
So now with these mass shootings, and we as citizens of the United States, we have a right, in the Bill of Rights, the same amendment that was done in 1791, we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So
I believe that might be the Constitution.
Okay, there's a conflict between people that believe they have a right to bear arms and our right to life and the pursuit of happiness. I'm not too happy thinking about all the people that have been killed and injured by these mass shootings. I'm not talking about the right to bear arms. I mean, you can have a gun, a pistol, a gun in your home, but not something with a bump stock or a repeating magazine. That's just insanity. If you can't get a deer with a rifle, then like Tim says, go to the shooting range. This has reached a level of absolute, has no common sense to it. We aren't safe. We aren't safe. We can't go to the mall or our church or our synagogue or our block party without going to school. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Without worrying about being shot or our kids being shot.
According to Article 2, Section 2, which regulates the president. Okay. Emperor George Washington, and if you go into history and look it up, that was his official first title. It took him almost 20 years to ratify the Constitution, to get the Bill of Rights done, and all of that, right? Who was in charge then? Emperor Washington. But then he took a position of third place in authority, called president, or president, as we call it today. But a lot of things have changed since then. But according to Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, the civilian leader, the President of the United States, is also the Commander-in-Chief. Do you know how many times in history the President has decided that a weapon can't be sold? You know, like you can't go, I don't care how much money you got, they're not going to sell you an Apache helicopter. It doesn't matter what your last name is or who you are. You can't put a howitzer in your front yard. Okay? Not a working one. Okay? There's memorials, but those are not working anymore. Okay? So, there's all kinds of weapons that we have, and it basically takes a signature. That's what it takes. And why Joe Biden won't do that, I don't know. Because, okay, so Donald Trump wrote over 200 executive orders. Since Joe Biden's been in office, he's done, at least 115, 120 of them. So do it again. Okay? Congress should force him to if he won't do it. So, go ahead.
So, we aren't talking about banning the right to bear arms. We're talking about something that the majority of gun owners, the majority of the citizens in the United States want the automatic weapons not available.
I don't even know how many gun shootings we've had. What's the total? Like 300 of them or something in the last couple of decades? There is more people there's at least as many people have died from mass shootings as the wars we've been in. And these are civilians, folks. This is a war thing. Now, we might not be calling it that, but it's a war thing. So, in Serbia, they had 2 mass shootings in a week and changed their whole system. We're the United States. We can't pull that off? Sorry, go ahead.
So there are 2 things I want to bring up. One are possible gun control measures, and this isn't the final word. I'm not saying that they should enact all of these. These are just things that should be done. Maybe some of them are already done but not being enforced. Banning assault weapons with high-capacity magazines except for the military. I believe, my personal opinion is that should be number 1. Banning bump stocks, a stiff penalty for the manufacturer, ownership, or sale of a bump stock. Ending gun manufacturers' immunity from liability. Requiring safe storage of guns, that's a really, really good one. Having gun locks. Now, NRA members actually were in favor of this. Some of the gun manufacturers were in favor of this, so that the only person who could use a gun was the owner. Enacting universal background checks and a waiting period to take possession at gun shows. Now, the way that gun shows work now is if you're a licensed firearm dealer, you can do a background check right on the spot. But there's a loophole which allows people, personal gun owners, to sell these guns at gun shows if they want to disperse their collection.
Yeah.
So
how many collectors are selling guns in those shows? All of them. I want to jump in here really quick and just touch on something that Elizabeth brought up. So if you have a car, and whether you're in it or not, it rolls down the hill. If somebody else is driving it and it hits something, you're liable for it. If I had a teenage son and he took my bowling ball to the mall and rolled it down the hallway and injured somebody, I would be liable for that. Why is there nobody enforcing the gun laws that already exist? Okay, so the thing is that if you want to have these kind of automatic weapons, join a gun club where you're registered, where your guns are lockered, and you can go and visit them. Hell, I wouldn't mind going and firing a 60 cal at a gun club. How about that? I wouldn't mind going and trying to ride around in a tank at a gun club. They had bowling centers and skating centers and all kinds of recreation. Just put this in that category. Sorry, go ahead, honey.
Well, the final thing I want to talk about is what can we do? Why isn't Congress enacting this legislation? Because they're controlled by the PACs who make the donations. So there are 2 things to do with this. One is enacting better campaign finance laws that prevent special interests from controlling your congressmen. The other thing that I would say to you is you can vote different people. Really, before the primaries, do your research on the stand of gun control. And vote for the people that are for sensible legislation. We're not banning all guns. We're not recommending that, but sensible legislation. Look at the voting records of people in Congress right now. Tim wants to talk about President Biden again.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I want to wrap this up, too. folks, we normally get on here and we share love and light and joy and all of that because that's where we come from. We live in this beautiful area, and we want the rest of the United States to be that for everyone else, okay? But in order to do this, we got to do a few things. One is, okay, have you ever known anybody who was emotionally, mentally, spiritually at risk? And there are periods of times that we all are there, whether that's after a breakup or whether that's after something that happens, maybe somebody dies or something like that. We can all be in those risk moments. But there are people who kind of live there, and maybe they're on medication and maybe they're not. Maybe they should be, okay? But I'm not going to talk about Congress anymore. Anyway, but be your brother's keeper. So there's this saying, oh, who am I, my brother's keeper? Well, the person they're quoting was the person who was rebelling against God. When Cain killed Abel and God asked him where his brother was, he said, what am I, my brother's keeper? So we're supposed to be our brother's keeper. So if there are people that you know that are at risk, and all of a sudden they start hanging out with a new group that lets them shoot, keep in mind, okay, write your senator. Okay, I'm going to include a link at the bottom of this. But you can write your senator. Okay, they consider a letter to be like 5,000 votes. So write your congressperson people. You have 2 in every state, okay? So you say whatever's on your heart and mind, mail something every Monday, or at least once a week, right? Make 5 copies of it. Or make 15 copies of it and send one each to each one of those people, okay? And here's what my letter says. Dear leader, we need some action and some leadership. I am a hunter and a voter. Please ban all weapons that are more than a single shot device, other than for military or police use. They do not need automatic or semi-automatic weapons to shoot straight or hunt. If they do, tell them to go practice. I will be watching to see what you sponsor before the next election with my signature. Folks, this is horrendous. We lost more people to mass shootings than the last wars of the couple decades. We got to do something about this. I'm not trying to stop somebody from having a gun. I'm trying to make sure that they're responsible with it and that they should, the laws that we have on the books now are enforced. Because if I injure you in my car, I'm liable. But I guess not with my gun. Anyway, love and light, and our heart bleeds. We're supposed to be celebrating the 4th of July, not mourning it or hiding from it.
22 mass shootings in 17 states. 360 mass shootings since January. This is insanity. Wake up. Know that you have the power. Each and every person has the power to make a difference here. And the only way we can do it is through our legislators.
Look, if you want to form a group or in your community or whatever, or you want some help, or you want some ideas, or you just want to commiserate, and God forbid that you lost somebody during one of these mass shootings. But if that's the case, call us. My phone number is 207-232-1987. I can be found on timlharris.com, and you can reach, comment, react, whatever you wish for this whole process.
Remember, the Constitution talks about we the people. We are the people.
Yeah, we can't leave it up to them.
Myself, you, every one of you has the power and can do something about this.
And we can't leave it to they, them, and D.C. So God bless. Our hearts are with those that lost. We want to make it so that we can all live here in the land of the free and be brave enough to go outside. Love and light. Namaste.
Bye, everybody.